Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers, sisters, viewers and friends of Ikra TV, welcome back to the second part of Real Talk. Today I've been talking to my dear friend Amjad Parvaz, who I know you know quite well because he's been on my program on a number of occasions. We've been having a frank discussion and talking about some of the challenges which we as a community face, particularly our young people, particularly issues around how young people in the Muslim community are being either undereducated or not benefit from the education system or the employment market for them, for that matter. And the impact of Islamophobia and racism is now become quite prevalent. And there's lots of evidence that that is something that is sort of now inbred within society. Now, before we went to the break, we talked about families and how family structures are changing as well, and the impact that is having. So I know we started about the way marriages were taking place and the impact. We're now seeing more and more divorces within our communities, and we see more and more young sort of people who become single parents, either mothers or fathers. Mainly it's the mothers, and obviously, regardless of whether you accept it or not, having a single parent has an impact on the child long term. Now that is, as you say, was having some impact on the families as well, and the children. But also you talked about, and although not necessarily related to it, the number of Muslims in the criminal justice system, which is something that I've spoke about before and you spoke about it.
So everything that we've talked about so far, it's they say, like they say, it's the last straw that broke the camel's back. So it's a cumulative effect on young people's lives. It's different factors coming together, right, that have this impact on life. So we've talked about bad parenting. We've talked about the family system, the structures, marriage, divorce, single parenting. We've talked about Islamophobia. We've talked about issues in our institutions which should be doing some real good work, and there are some ones that are doing some really brilliant work, but on the whole, right, in terms of our religious institution, there are things that could be improved.
There's some shortfalls.
Okay. So as a result of it, you've got to look at where is it all going. So if you look at the evidence that was presented on the prison population, this may shock people. The number of Muslim men in prison has nearly doubled in the past 10 years.
Inna lillahi. That's really bad news.
Right? So, although the Muslim population as a whole is 4%
of the country,
right? So we're really right at the top in terms of the prison population. And the highest growing number is from that community. Now, but the last part, what you were on about, is if this doesn't shock you, nothing will shock you. The number of BAME people in the youth justice system is now at 50%.
Oh my God. 50%.
50%. Google it. You don't have to believe me. It's there. Right?
That is a serious issue.
Right. So one person said to me, and I won't name them, he said, we bring our children into the world. We try our best to get them educated. But what is really happening is by the time they get to the age of 16, 18 to 24 and to 30, 50%.
Half of them end up in prisons.
Half of them are going to be in the prisons.
Oh my God.
So we used to talk about America and the black kids, right? We really, as a society, and we started off with the concept of Ashraful Makhluk, what we as Muslims should do, right? Really, shouldn't really we be having demonstrations on our own institutions' doorsteps and demanding that why are things going wrong? Why is it, right? So you were asking me earlier on, what is it that the viewers can do about that? So I mean, I've painted a picture, and I didn't want to be overly negative, but unfortunately, I've got to, this is research.
We've got to be honest.
No, this is research that you can Google. You don't have to believe me. My job is to bring you the analysis, right? What we do as a community from now on is something that is not just my responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility, not just the Muslims, but the main community itself.
Yeah.
Because you know what, people who live in glass houses live dangerously if they don't take care of the people who live below the glass houses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you raise a very important point. Obviously, there's two factors here: is the institutions, right? So it's maybe the school, the education system, the madrasas, etc., having to work collectively, right, alongside the parenting side, which is the first madrasa is in your mother's lap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is what the Prophet ﷺ said. And that is where, we nurture our kids, as you said at the beginning. And we teach them both talim and tarbiyat. Those are two important factors.
Yeah, if you give them a laptop and a phone, right, and you're watching Netflix, and you're not asking them what they're doing at school or what they're doing in the madrasa. So I think coming back to the point that you raised earlier, what is it that the viewers can do themselves, right? I know during this cost of living crisis and, all this economic crisis that we're going through, every single person, I don't care how well off you are, right? People are under huge stress at the moment.
Oh,
the number of food banks and free meals and all that is going through the roof at the moment.
And our people are now visiting food banks.
By the looks of it, it's not getting any better, right? So I have empathy, sympathy with people, but what is it that we can do? I think number one, we live in a democratic society. So the very people, whether it's the madrasa, the mosque, the politician, hold them to account. Forget your brotherly loyalties. Now it's about your children, your future in this country, and how we play a role as stakeholders and become the ashraful makhluq. So if tomorrow when we leave or die, not just Muslims, but everybody else misses us because of our virtue and the good that we brought into this society.
I think that's a very important point that Amjad makes. I mean, the solution is there in front of us, if only we could harness it in the best possible way they can. And as he says, we were sent to this earth and we were given the Holy Quran as our book guide. And the Prophet ﷺ gave us the manual to go with it, to say this is the life we should be leading. And he started at the very beginning by saying, the Prophet ﷺ says, education is one of the most important aspects. And Amjad, read the hadith which says, if we have to go to China, remember, in those days, 1400 years ago, China was not just a hop away on a plane. It would have taken 3-4 months for people to travel from Saudi Arabia to China, right? Navigating some unbelievable terrain. And in those circumstances, the Prophet ﷺ said, if we have to go to China in order to gain education, then do so. And the other point that you made that we didn't get a chance to explore, if you look at the history of Muslims, and Amjad put this really, really well, and Islam and the Muslims and the scholars of Islam produced some amazing scientists.
Bedrock of everything
exactly.
today. Bedrock
you look at everything today, and I've said this to you before, if you want your children to learn about the role Muslim scientists played, the best way to do so is visit the Muslim Heritage Centre in Manchester. They have the House of Wisdom. And the former chief exec, Maqsood, was here last week. And when I went there, I was blown away. So what has happened in the intervening years, in the last 300-400 years, that our madrasas have regressed from being outward looking to more inward looking, and now created more and more divisions within ourselves.
I think, we haven't got a lot of time left, so I would, respectfully request, I would beg the people who are watching this, your children go to a school. How many of you know what the Ofsted rating is for that? Is it outstanding? Is it good? Is it needs requirement? Or is it in special measures? If it is, why are you not holding the head teacher and your teachers to account? Why are you not holding the local councillors to account, right? That why they're not changing? If it's a local authority school, right, then you hold them to account. If it's an academy or a free school, you hold the governors, right, of the board to account, right? And that is the way to move forward. Accountability, right? But it's not being bravado. You've got to do it diplomatically. You've got to organize yourself, organize as parent groups, right? And demand your rights. You live in a democracy, right? Don't feel helpless that, you know, on the day you've got to just give the vote and then go to sleep. No. Those people that you vote are called civil servants. So they've got to respond to you civilly, and they're your servants. They're there to serve your problems.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Right?
You don't
And
need
I
to.
think that's the way a lot of people see it. And I think empowering the Apni community is one of the big tasks that we know we face. And people like Amjad, who have been at the forefront of trying to empower local communities. May Allah give you even more strength. I know it's a battle that you've been fighting for a number of years. And it's something that we need to continue to do so. You've heard me say this so many times on this program. If only we as a Muslim community could unite, there are 100 parliamentary constituencies in this country that we can actually
Absolutely.
we can make some enormous policy decisions that would affect not just the Muslim
That's where
community.
the think tanks come in.
Yeah.
Where the strategy comes in.
Exactly. We have 100, as I say, constituencies in this country. The big thing that is holding us back is the division that is being created by ourselves, and others are taking on the
Petty
opportunity.
infighting.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I hope you found this program, and I certainly have. Amjad, as I say, is an amazing guest. He talks from the heart. He means exactly what he says, and everything that he says is to try and improve our lot as a community, our young people and our families. And may Allah give you strength. Thank you for doing the work that you do. And if there's any way we can help in helping you to do that, we'd be more than honored. Next week, inshallah, I'm going to have Ikram Butt, the first Muslim Pakistani rugby player who played for England, a really inspirational young man, and look forward to seeing him as well. Inshallah, I'll see you soon. Take care. Please remember me and particularly Amjad's family in your du'as. As I say, you know, we all need du'as for all of us. May Allah be with you. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.